Hi all. In this video I want to talk about how we can add fields and delete fields programmatically using Acrobat JavaScript. This form that you see on screen here is one that just catalogs passwords on PDFs that are secure, so that if I want to open them, if they're password protected, or I want to edit them, then I need the password to unlock the file. And in this document, all I'm doing is creating fields. And on each one of these fields, I have a tooltip here. Notice that when I click or hover over a field, you see this says item, and this says password, and this says web address URL. And then over on this button field, I have import image. So basically, I have a tooltip that describes each one of these fields, because you'll notice that there's no titles or anything down on each one of these rows. So if I want to add fields, what I'll do is click on this button here. I've already populated 3 rows. I'll click on this button and it adds these fields. You'll notice that when I click on my Prepare Form button over here, you'll see that I have this button that still exists on the form, whereas these 3 up above have been deleted. And the way I remove this field is in this script here. So let me go to Preview, and I'll go to Add Page, and then you can see that that button has been eliminated. Now, let's say I want to fill out this form. Let's say I have author royalty from my publisher, a website where I can check my royalties monthly. So let's say I have in this field, I have a logon and a password. I just titled it password, but I'm going to type in logon if I have a logon, and I'll call it me. And then what I'm going to do is type in a password. So type in a password, then I come down to this field, and when I click in this field, what I want to do is add a URL, and I want to make sure I get it right the first time. So the best thing to do would be to go to your web browser, go to the URL that you want to designate as part of this particular row of fields, and copy that URL from your location bar and then paste it in here. I'll just type in a very URL there that is actually a real URL. Now notice when I tab out and then I come in and click again, then I open up a web browser. That URL obviously is offline right now. Let's go up here to Adobe, and I'll go to Allow. Okay, and that takes me to Creative Cloud. So each one of these are links to URLs. Now I'm going to click on Add Page here, and when before I do that, I'm going to click on this button field, and I'm going to import a button. So I'll click on Browse, and this is just a screenshot in case you want to add a little extra identifier as to where this password is added to, what it relates to. So now what I'll do is I'll click on Add Page, and I come up to this page as my second page, and what I've done is I've spawned a page from a template, and when I click on Add Fields here, a couple of things happen. I'm going to add fields like I did before, but I'm also going to flatten the page that I just came from on page 1. So when I click on Add Field and I go back to this page, you'll notice that when I click, I can't edit any of this text here. Okay? I suppose I could if I got my edit tool, but I mean these are no longer fields, and this page has been flattened. And the reason we do this, let me take you to my desktop here, and we'll go to, I have 2 files here. One of the files is one that I have 2,500 pages, and I have 4 records per each page with a total of 4 fields. So I have 16 fields on each page, and the total pages are 2,500. So you can see that I have several thousand fields in the document. And I didn't flatten the pages here. So if I take a look at the properties, you can see that the size of this document is over 1 gigabyte. If I take a look at the same file where I flatten the fields and take a look at its properties, I have 6 megabytes. So it's 6 megabytes versus 1 gigabyte. You can see that as you create more and more fields in a PDF document, that file size is going to grow considerably. So if I have a living document here where I'm going to add an exorbitant number of pages and fields per page, then I'm going to want to flatten that. And that's what that script does. Now, let's take a look at how you would go about setting this up. I'll close this file, and what I'll do is take a look at my artwork. This is my artwork. And I'll take a look at my artwork. This artwork was created in Adobe InDesign, and these are just lines, they're not fields. Now I can auto-populate this document, and it's going to come in very nice. So if I click on my Prepare Form button over here and click on Start, you can see that I added all of these fields, or at least Acrobat auto-populated this page with fields, and named those according to the names that Acrobat wanted to offer for the names, and I want to change these names. So I'm going to double click on the first one, and we'll go over here to General, and let's just call this Item 1. Now the reason I give it a number like that is because I've got 4 items that are fields related to items. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have Item 1 here, Item 2, Item 3, and Item 4 accordingly. The next thing I want to do is I want to get the coordinates for this field. And the way I do that is I open up my JavaScript editor. That would be Control-J or Command-J on the Macintosh. And I'm going to type in this get field. And we'll go paren, quote, quote, paren, semicolon. And then what I'm going to do is put in the field name in between those quotes. I'll call it Item 1 because that's the name I gave to the first field on the page that I renamed. And after I name it, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of code after that parentheses. I'm going to call it dot rectangle, R-E-C-T, like so. And then I'm going to highlight this text, and I'm going to press my Enter key. If you're on a laptop, that may be Control Enter on Windows or Command Enter on the Mac. But make sure it's the Enter key. And there are my coordinates for the field that I currently have selected up here. And that's how I get the coordinates. And I would go ahead and add all of those coordinates. I would also come over here and I would delete each one of these boxes over here in each one of these rows. So we'll come over to this document, and what I'm going to do is take a look at the fields I have. You can see that these fields are listed over here on the left, and I've got my add page there. I have a template in this document, so if I go to my page templates, click on my page template icon up here, then I can show my template. And one thing that you're going to need to be aware of is you're going to have to change the field names in the template versus the first page. So I'll start with the first page here, and basically what I'm going to do is take a look at the scripts where we go about adding the fields. I go to Actions and go to my JavaScript, and what I have here is at the very top I identify variable I as this page number. And the reason I do that is because as I spawn pages from a template, the page names are going to go P and then the page number. So I is going to be the page number, so it will be P1, P2, P3, etc., etc. So over here, what I have is a line of code that adds the field. Before I get to this, though, I have this button here. I'm just going to show this button, and each one of these is going to show the button following the one you're working on. In this line of code, I'm assigning the variable f to this line of code here where it says add field. This is the JavaScript code that's going to add a field to your page. And what I've done is I've added the name of the field. I've described what kind of field it is. It's a text field. I'm saying that it's going to be on this page, and these are the coordinates that I get when I type in that text in the JavaScript console, as you saw me do earlier. So each time I create a new field, I want to make sure that I get the code that corresponds to the location to where that field is going to be placed. And then I have all the properties for the field that's set here, like the font size, the font color, the fill color, the alignment, whether it's multi-line or not. All of that is described here in these lines of code in these sections. At the very bottom, I have a button field, and you can see that over here, instead of text, I have button, and the rest of the line of code is the same. I've got the page number and I've got the coordinates. And then I have this set action. I'm going to have an action written to the action tab on this field, and it's going to open up a browse dialog box that's going to allow me to import a button icon. Now, by default, when you create a button in Acrobat JavaScript, the default is a label only, and you need to identify it as button only. And I have a video where I talk about buttons. If you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about, you can browse around and find that video. I have the tooltip, and this line of code is very important, where it says f button position equals position.icon only. This is going to identify the layout as an icon as opposed to a label. The code previous to this up here, I have a line of code that basically is going to create a URL link to whatever URL I type in my text box. And so that code appears there. On the second button, I have a little bit of addition code, because what I'm doing is I'm going to delete or remove the field prior to the field I'm working on. So that would be, I would go up to the top here, and at the very top you see I have this remove field, and I'm removing this field. So as I click on each one of these buttons, it removes the field prior to it. However, on the bottom, I can't remove this field with the same code, but I have that code in this button where I spawn a page. So if I go to Actions and I run my JavaScript, you can see that I'm going to remove this field, and then I'm going to spawn a page from a template, and then I'm going to go to that page. So then over here on the second page, this is the page that's spawned. You can see that what I did in this series of scripts over here is I've got the template name. Now, I didn't use the template name. You could use the template name on the first page, and so it would be just a matter of duplicating that page and then defining it as a template. But I set this up differently, and I'm using the template name. That's essential when you spawn a page from a template, and I have 3 videos on spawning pages from templates you can look over if you're not really sure how to get to those. And that's basically it. So this document will go ahead and add pages. Let me go ahead and close my template. So we want to hide that. And what I'm going to do is, if I click on this, it's going to add my fields. I'll type in my fields, and then as I spawn my page from a template, come to the next page, when I click on add fields there, it's going to flatten all the fields on this page. And you can see that when I add page here. Let's go over to, this is page 2. We can take a look at the script here. And you can see that I have this line of code here where it says this flatten pages, and it says this page num -1. So what I'm basically doing is I'm flattening the fields on the page prior to the one where this script exists. If you say this page num, it's going to flatten these fields, and then you won't be able to work anymore on this page. So make sure that you've got -1 in there. If you want to flatten a series of pages, you would say this flatten pages, and then in parentheses, you go, let's say you want to flatten the first 25 pages, you would go 0, 24. Remember, JavaScript is 0 base, so it's 25 pages, 0 is counted as page 1. So that would be, and within parentheses, you'd add 0, 24 to flatten 25 pages. Just a tip on a script that will flatten pages for you. So that basically is it. I know it's complicated, and what you might do is download this file, kind of poke around, take a look at it, save it as a copy, and start working on the copy, but keep the original intact. So if you start messing up things, you don't have to go back and download the file that I locate in my description box for this video, where you can download this tutorial file. So that pretty much takes care of it. Once again, this is Ted Padova wishing all the very best in all your Acrobat activity. And until next time, bye-bye.